Hi everybody, hope you're all doing well. I miss you. So today we're going to do a little bit of trivia. So I have the questions up on the screen, and then I will also be saying the questions as well with the answers. So the first question is, what game was invented first? Dominoes or Monopoly? What do you think? That's right, it was dominoes. So the game of dominoes is believed to have been created in China in the 1300s. The first concept of the Monopoly game was developed in 1933, so quite a big time difference there. Second question. Who was the First Lady of Argentina from 1946 until her death in 1952 and championed women and labor rights in that country? Does anybody know who the First Lady was of Argentina who fought for women and labor rights? 1946 until 1952. This is a tough one. It was Eva Perón. So Perón's nickname was Evita. She also ran the Ministries of Health and Labor. What part of the body consists of 33 bones called vertebrae? Where can you find your vertebrae? You can find it in the spine, your back. So there are 5 regions to the spinal column: cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx. The song When You Wish Upon a Star was written for what 1940 Disney movie? This is for all you movie lovers out there. When You Wish Upon a Star. What movie was that written for? It was Pinocchio. You guys remember Pinocchio? Ned Washington and Leah Harline wrote the song, and Cliff Ukulele Ike Edwards performed it. Edwards also provided the voice for the character of Jiminy Cricket. What 3 countries made up the Axis powers during World War II? What 3 countries made up the Axis powers during World War II? That's right, Germany, Italy, and Japan. The Allies included France, Great Britain, the Soviet Union, and the United States. Next question. From what language do we get the words karate, tsunami, and karaoke? What language do those words come from? The words are karate, tsunami, and karaoke. It comes from the Japanese language. So karate is a system of unarmed combat using the hands and feet to fight one's opponent. A tsunami is a long, high sea wave caused by a geological disturbance such as an earthquake. And karaoke is a form of entertainment where people sing popular songs into a microphone over recorded backing tracks. What are the three secondary colors? We know the primary colors are blue, red, and yellow. So what are the secondary colors? That's right, they're green, orange, and purple. So secondary colors are created by mixing two of the primary colors together. So for example, green is created by combining yellow and blue. How is orange created? What colors do you mix to make orange? That's right, red and yellow. And how do you make purple? What colors do you combine to make purple? Not green, blue and red. What famous film director and producer made the movies The Birds, Psycho, and Rear Window? What famous film director produced the movies The Birds, Psycho, and Rear Window? Alfred Hitchcock. You guys remember him? He was nicknamed the Master of Suspense. Hitchcock received the American Film Institute's Life Achievement Award in 1979. That's quite an achievement. What planet is known for its red hue? What planet has the color red in it? Does anybody know? Come on, Alan. It's Mars. So Mars is sometimes... Right, what is the term for cooking with dry heat at temperature of 400 degrees Fahrenheit and above, usually in an oven? I'll read it again. What is the term for cooking with dry heat at a temperature of 400 degrees Fahrenheit or more, usually in an oven? It's a roast. So roasting generally involves cooking foods that already have a structure before cooking, such as meat and vegetables. So baking occurs at lower temperatures up to 375 degrees and involves foods that lack structure early on and become solid through the cooking process, such as cakes. Has anyone ever made a roast, like roast beef or roast chicken? All right, next question. What are an elephant's tusks made out of? What kind of material are the tusks of an elephant made out of? It's very popular amongst poachers because it's very valuable. They used to make piano keys from this material. That's right, it's ivory. So tusks are large teeth that protrude from the elephant's mouth. They use them for digging, lifting objects, stripping bark from trees to eat, gathering food, and defending themselves. Wow, lots of different ways to use their tusks. In what country would you find the following cities? Halifax, Vancouver, and Montreal. What country can you find Halifax, Vancouver, and Montreal? I know you know this one. That's right, it's Canada. So Halifax is the capital of Nova Scotia. Vancouver is a west coast seaport in British Columbia. And Montreal is the largest city in the province of Quebec. Has anyone ever been to any of these places? Nova Scotia, Vancouver, Montreal? Yeah, maybe we'll go there someday. Take a little trip. New Orleans, Louisiana, was devastated by the impact of what Category 5 hurricane in 2005? So, what hurricane devastated New Orleans in 2005? What was the name of that hurricane? It was Hurricane Katrina. So some estimate that Katrina could cause more than $100 billion in damage. Do you guys remember Hurricane Katrina? It was about 15 years ago now. From 1941 to 1952, what radio program would begin with a squeaky door slowly being opened, an organ playing, and a host with a morbid sense of humor? I'll read it again. From 1941 to 1952, what radio program would begin with a squeaky door slowly being opened, an organ playing, and a host with a morbid sense of humor? Does anyone know what radio show that was? Come on, Alan. It was called Inner Sanctum. So the weekly program was a horror anthology series that told various stories about ghosts, murderers, and lunatics. It was inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame in 1988. Did anyone ever listen to Inner Sanctum? I know I wouldn't. Too scary for me. Fraser Island, the largest sand island in the world, belongs to what country? Does anyone know where Fraser Island is? It's in Australia. So Fraser Island is listed as a World Heritage Site. It stretches over 75 miles in length and 13.5 miles at its widest point. Does anyone want to go visit the island down in Australia? It's probably a little bit warmer there than it is here. What do you think? According to the children's nursery rhyme, the old woman who lived in a shoe had a lot of what? Remember that nursery rhyme? The old woman who lived in the shoe had a lot of what? Children. She had a lot of children. So the original rhyme is as follows. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread, and whipped them all soundly and put them to bed. The contemporary version is kinder, ending with, she gave them some broth with plenty of bread, then kissed them all sweetly and put them to bed. Do you remember that nursery rhyme? Did your parents ever tell you that nursery rhyme? Or did you tell your kids that nursery rhyme? All right. Guglielmo Marconi was an Italian inventor, best known for inventing what? What did Marconi invent? Does anybody know? Does that name ring a bell with anybody? He invented the radio. So Marconi sent and received the first radio waves in 1895. Not too long ago. What do you call an integer greater than 1 that is divisible only by itself and 1? I'll read it again. What do you call an integer greater than 1 that is divisible only by itself and 1? These are for all the math people out there. Earhart, do you know? What is divisible only by itself and 1? What are those numbers called? Prime numbers. Good job. So the first 5 prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7, and 11. Did you get that one, Earhart? According to Irish tradition, it is good luck to find a clover with how many leaves? How many leaves do you want your clover to have? If you need some good luck. 4. That's right. So the odds of finding a single 4-leaf clover is about 1 in 10,000. The 4 leaves are believed to symbolize faith, hope, love, and luck. Has anyone ever found a 4-leaf clover? Where did you find it? Find one in your backyard? In Ireland? What American writer, poet, and art collector authored the well-known books The Making of Americans in 1925 and the autobiography of Alice B. Toklas in 1933? Where are my readers? Who wrote that? The Making of Americans and the autobiography of Alice B. Toklas. I'll give you a hint. It was a girl. It was Gertrude Stein. So Stein was a great supporter of contemporary artists, including Pablo Picasso, Henri Matisse, Ezra Pound, Max Jacob, and Georges Braque. Any of those names ring a bell with you? Bird brain, blockhead, and half-wit are all slang terms for what? What does it mean when someone has a bird brain or a blockhead, or if someone calls somebody a half-wit? What does that mean? It means someone who isn't smart. So the term bird brain is believed to have first been used in this capacity during the 1930s. So blockhead has been in existence since 1549. And the first known use of half-wit was 1640. Wow, that goes way back, right? What candy is supposed to melt in your mouth, not in your hand? They're very yummy. What candy is supposed to melt in your mouth, not in your hand? They're all different colors too. Little pieces of candy. You eat a whole bag of them in one sitting. That's right, it was M&M's. So this memorable slogan first appeared in 1954. The candies were first made in Newark, New Jersey, and debuted in 1941. At the time, they were exclusively made for servicemen and women to enjoy during World War II. Does anyone remember when M&M's first appeared in the stores? Does anybody like M&M's? I know I do. Almost half of the field crop acreage in all of Canada is found in what province? Is it Alberta, Manitoba, or Saskatchewan? Where can you find most of the field crops in Canada? Is it Alberta, Manitoba, or Saskatchewan? Saskatchewan. So canola was Saskatchewan's leading field crop according to the 2016 census, followed by spring wheat and lentils. Did you know that? What does someone fear if they suffer from claustrophobia? What are you afraid of if you're claustrophobic? I know you know this. That's right, confined spaces. A person with claustrophobia has an irrational fear of having no escape when in small or closed-in areas. Elevators in small rooms with no windows are common triggers. Some even report wearing a tight turtleneck can bring on symptoms. Is anyone here claustrophobic? Famous composers Johann Sebastian Bach, Ludwig van Beethoven, and Richard Wagner are all from what country? Where did Bach, Beethoven, and Wagner come from? They didn't come from America. I know some of you music people out there know it. That's right, it was in Germany. So the composers, Johann Brahms, George Handel, Felix Mendelssohn, Robert Schumann, and Richard Strauss are all German as well. I guess Germany is very well known for all their composers, huh? In what movie did we hear, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all"? What movie did that come from? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all? I'll give you a hint. It was a Disney movie, a Disney princess movie. One of the first Disney princess movies ever created. Does anybody know? It was Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. Originally one of Grimm's fairy tales, Walt Disney released the animated movie version of this classic tale in 1938. Has anyone ever seen Snow White and the Seven Dwarves? Or has anyone ever heard the Grimm brothers version of Snow White? As we know, there can be a very different ending than Disney. What is the term for a young woman in the 1920s who wore a short, calf-revealing dress with a low neckline and fringe? This is the iconic look of the 1920s. What were the women called who wore these short dresses and low necklines with fringe? That's right, it was flappers. So flappers were known as those who flouted conventional standards of how a woman should act. They would smoke in public, drink alcohol, and dance at jazz clubs with a freedom the previous generation was not afforded. You guys are too young to have been a flapper yourself, in the 20s at least. Crest, mantle, and core are terms used to describe the layers of what? The layers of what contains the crust, mantle, and core. This is going back to your middle school science classes. Does anybody know? That's right, it was Earth. So, fun fact, the crust makes up Earth's entire surface, including the continents and the ocean floor, but only 1% of its entire volume. Did you get that? So the crust only makes up 1% of Earth. Kind of interesting, huh? So the places that we all live in the ocean is only 1% of Earth. Was the Pax Romana a time of war or peace in Rome? Pax Romana, was it a time of war or peace? What do you think? That's right, it was peace. Pax Romana translates to Roman peace. It began during the reign of Caesar Augustus, aka Octavian, and lasted for roughly 200 years. Many significant advances in art, culture, and technology were made possible by this time of peace. Very interesting. How many is a baker's dozen? So if you go get some donuts and you ask for a baker's dozen, how many donuts are you going to get? That's right, 13. So many believe this practice originated in medieval times when a law stated that bakers who sold goods under a certain weight would be punished. At the time, many would add an extra loaf to ensure this never happened. All right, and that's all I have for you today. So thank you all for joining me, and I hope to see you soon.